بس دكتور بدي احكي لك شغله. انوار الشوبكي كثير تعبانه وحكت لي احكي لك يعني عشان الغياب وهيك.
سلامتها ان شاء الله، سلامتها.
صدق دكتور.
Okay, today we'll have a new lesson, page 168, lesson 1, biospheres in space. Biospheres in space. Okay. Now, before you read the passage about biospheres in space, now let's look at these questions. Number 1, what might this building be used for? Look at the picture. What might this building be used for? What do you think? We have a building here in the picture. What might this building be used for? What do you think? Just guess. You don't know? What might this building be used for? It might be used for what? For living in. And you might live in this building. Do you think you could live inside this building for 2 years without ever leaving it? Do you think you could live inside this building for 2 years without leaving it? Ines. Ines, do you think? سامعتني يا إيناس؟
مش موجود عندي بالكتاب دكتور.
أنت ما تستخدمي الكتاب الثاني أنت. لا
أنا كمان دكتور مش موجود عندي.
نعم؟
وأنا كمان مش موجود عندي.
قلنا لكم جيبوا الإديشن هذيك، جايبين الإديشن القديم. قلت لكم أول فصل في عندنا قلنا ال 11th سوري ال 4th إديشن قلنا. جايبين الجزء الثالث إديشن. أوكي.
والله يا دكتور كمان أنا كمان مو عندي.
أنا قلت لكم من أول فصل قلت لكم غيروا الكتاب. الكتاب هذا قديم اللي معكم. آمنة؟
دكتور ممكن أجاوب لكن بالعربي؟
هو السؤال do you think? Yes ولا no?
Yes.
Living in this place for 2 years without leaving it.
Yes, doctor.
Yes. Right. How interested are you in space travel? Are you interested in space travel? Very
yes,
interested.
Of course.
Very interested ولا somewhat interested ولا not very interested?
ممكن very interested.
Very interested, yes. Very interested. Then from these questions, what do you think the passage will be about? طبعا في عندنا هنا البيلدينج ويوز فور وات؟ قلنا فور ليفينج. بعدين
انه المقصود فيها انه مستعمرات.
بيلدينج بغض النظر بيلدينج. هنا ليفينج وبيلدينج، بس عندنا هون ايش؟ في عندنا سبيس ترافل. يعني where do you think these buildings are? Where do you think these buildings are?
In space.
In space. In the space. Good. إذن we look at the title biospheres in space. يعني what does this mean? Biospheres in space.
فضاء.
No. Not the meaning of Arabic. Now what do we mean by biospheres in space? يعني houses in the space. Okay? Houses in the space. Okay, or living in the space. Now, the word in bold print are from this lesson. Use context clues to guess the meaning of each word. Number one. Number one. Yes. Amna?
Will it ever be possible for people to live on everyone plants
Far
such
away.
as
Far away. Far away.
faraway plants such
Not
as
plants,
Mars
planets. Planets.
كواكب.
Planets. لأنه في عندنا plants في عندنا planets.
Yes,
هاي
planets
planets.
such as Mars and Jupiter.
Jupiter. What is the plants here? Planets, sorry, planets. What do you mean by planets? I am. What do you mean by planets?
كواكب دكتور.
كواكب, yes, good. Next. Next. Anfal?
Scientists at the Environmental Research Laboratory are doing experiments on the Earth's environment. A laboratory is a place where scientists study and do research.
Yes, in a laboratory is a place where experiments are made. Okay. Next. 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 Yes. A biosphere will need bacteria or something else to take care of the wastes. What do you mean by bacteria? Bacteria. Listen, bacteria. It's a kind of, yes, it's a kind of creatures. Right. The last one. The last one. Yes. So far. What do you mean by so far? What do you mean by? Huh? What?
So far بعيد جدا.
No. كيش عن هون الفار بالبعد. No.
Until this moment.
Until this moment. Yes, until this moment. مثلا بقول I haven't received any answer from you so far. And I haven't received an answer until now. Then so far means until now. Yes, okay. Now let's start reading the first paragraph. Biospheres in space. Number one, paragraph number one. Batul?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes.
Okay. Biospheres in space. Will it ever be possible for people to live on faraway planets, such as Mars? In the past, colonies in space were possible only in science fiction stories. Today, however, we are experimenting with ways to build real space colonies. Many scientists actually consider it possible that people will live far from the Earth, so sometime in the future.
Thank you. And now we start the paragraph with the question. Will it ever be possible for people to live on faraway planets? This is the question. Will it be possible for people to live faraway planets? Like, for example, Mars. In the past, what happened? Colonies in space were possible. Colonies. What do you mean by colonies?
مستعمرات.
Yes. Then colonies in space were possible, but when or where? In science fiction stories. But what do you mean by science fiction stories? Science fiction.
الخيال العلمي.
خيال علمي, yes. Today, however, we are experimenting with ways to build real space colonies. The writer says here, they are experimenting, yani making experiments with ways to build real space colonies. Many scientists actually consider it possible. Many scientists consider building real space colonies possible. Okay? They consider it possible that people will live far from the Earth sometimes in the future. Even scientists consider it possible for people to live far away in space, far away from the Earth. Okay? Okay. Next paragraph. Isra. Yes, Isra. Paragraph 2. سمعتني إسراء؟ Do you hear me? Okay. أنفال.
The Environmental Research Laboratory at the University of Arizona is one place that designs biospheres. Bio means life, and a sphere is a circle like a ball, which could be used to live on other planets. Biospheres are complete, enclosed environments where people can be born, live their whole lives, and die without returning to the Earth. To be successful, a biosphere has to have a perfect balance among everything within it. The plants, the animals, including humans, and the chemical elements. Specialists and experts from many different fields are needed to work on these complex projects.
Thank you. إذن هنا في عندنا Environmental Research Laboratory. This is the lab called Environmental Research Laboratory. طبعا it is in what? University of Arizona. It is one place that designs biospheres. Then this laboratory in Arizona University is one place that designs biospheres. What do you mean by biospheres? Bio means life, spheres means circle. يعني life in the circle. Okay, life in a circle. زي البول, like a ball. Okay. طبعا this kind of design could be used to live on other planets. Then this kind of designs or housing could be used to live on planets or other planets. What are biospheres? Biospheres are complete, enclosed environment. They are enclosed environment where people can be born. In these environments, people can be born, live their whole lives, and die without returning to the earth. In these biospheres, people can be born, live their whole lives, and die without returning to the earth. To be successful, for these biospheres, to be successful, a biosphere has to have a perfect balance. Yani, this kind of biosphere should have a balance. A balance between what? Among everything within it. شو thing هنا في عنا plants, animals, including humans and chemical elements. Then these biospheres should have a perfect balance. What do you mean by balance?
توازن دكتور.
توازن, yes. Then these biospheres should have a perfect balance among three things: plants, animals, and chemical elements. Specialists and experts from many different fields are needed to work on these complex projects. Then scientists and experts from different fields of knowledge are called upon to work on such complex projects. And these projects are not simple, they are complex. Okay. Dana?
من عند building صح دكتور؟
Yes.
Building a greenhouse for growing planets in winter is the first step in creating a biosphere. A greenhouse is a closed environment except for the sun's heat entering through the glass or plastic. Of course, there is a water system from outside and people bring in nutrients for the planets and take out the waste material. كمل.
Yes. No.
Okay.
In paragraph, yes.
ايش
Yes,
دكتور؟
كملي الباراجراف واحد كله. Okay. كملي.
تمام. A biosphere in space will have to have its own system to provide water that can be used and reused. It will need
بكتيريا.
ايش كيف تنقرأ هاي؟
بكتيريا.
Need what?
Bacteria.
Or something else to take care of the wastes. Everything must be
Perfectly. دانيا. Perfectly. Okay. Then building a greenhouse for growing plants in winter is the first step in creating a biosphere. Then what's the first step in building a biosphere? له building a greenhouse for growing plants. What do you mean by greenhouse? Yes. What?
بمعنى دفيئة يعني بتكون للنباتات مثلا بنحطوا فيها النباتات بحط الشتاء.
Yes, okay. Then building a greenhouse is the first step to build a biosphere. Then before building a biosphere, we should build a greenhouse. What's a greenhouse? A greenhouse is a closed environment except for sun's heat entering through the glass of the plastic. Then what's a greenhouse? Is a closed environment, closed place يعني. But except هنا إنه sun's heat entering through what? The glass أو plastic. طبعا بتكون كلها glass the greenhouse. طبعا فيها بكون إيش؟ Sun heat comes through the glass to the greenhouse. Of course, there is a water system from outside. برضو there is a water system from outside. And people bring in nutrients for the plants and take out the waste material. What do you mean by nutrients? Nutrients?
مغذيات دكتور؟
Yes. لو مسميهم nutritional elements. إذن في عنا water system from outside و people bring nutrients to the plants. نفس الوقت take out the waste material. What do you mean by waste material?
نفايات.
Yes, good. A biosphere in space will have to have its own system. Even biosphere in the space should have its own system. System of what? Providing water. Then it should have a system of water to provide water. And this water can be used and reused. يعني زي recycled. Okay. Reused. It will need bacteria. Then this biosphere needs bacteria. Why? To take care of the waste. إن البكتيريا هنا تعمل إيش؟ Getting rid of what? Of wastes. Everything must be perfectly balanced. إذا لازم يكون perfect balance. أو if we don't have balance, then everything or the whole system will what? Will break down. Will finish. Okay. Next. Rana?
دكتور
Huh? Rana?
يا دكتور.
Yes.
دكتور أنا اسمي رانا مش رنا.
رانا بقول لك رانا. يلا يا رانا.
The earth in its life is the best example of a really possible biosphere. Nothing important interests except sunlight and nothing lives as waste except some heat. Everything in the earth environment needs to be in balance. If we destroy that planet,
balance,
the system will break down.
Thank you. And هنا the earth itself is the best example of very biosphere. The earth we live in is what? Is a good example of what? Of a biosphere. Nothing important enters except sunlight. Then nothing important enters except sunlight. And nothing leaves as waste except some heat. Then nothing important enters except only but sun heat enters. And nothing leaves as a waste except some heat. Some heat برضو ايش؟ leaves. Everything in the earth's environment needs to be in balance. Then كل شيء in earth environment should be what? In balance. If we destroy that balance, then what's the result? The system will break down. The system will be damaged. Then we should have balance. Very important. Next paragraph. Yes, Isra.
نعم دكتور بس وين صرتوا عند cell biosphere صح؟
No, there are several.
There are several reasons for building biosphere. One reason is to help out when there is an energy shortage. Dr. Jared K. O'Neill, a famous كيف تنقرأ دكتور هاي؟
Physicist
from Princeton University has said that in the future we will have satellite in space to produce solar energy and send it on to the earth. It will be too expensive to continually send people and materials to satellites, so biospheres will be necessary. He thinks that 10,000 people could live in space colony sometimes in the future. خلاص دكتور؟
كمل الباراجراف.
تمام. There is another interesting reason to build biosphere. We can use them to do all kinds of research about our own environment and how it works. By studying biosphere, we can understand better what will happen as humans destroy tropical forests as they create more carbon dioxide. صح?
Yes.
By burning fuel and as they pollute the oceans and the air.
Thank you. There are several reasons, there are many reasons for building biospheres. Then biospheres are built for many reasons. What are these reasons? One reason, or the first reason, is to help out when there is an energy shortage. What do you mean by shortage?
Lack of something.
Lack of something. Then the first reason for building biospheres when there is an energy shortage, يعني lack of energy. Dr. Gerald K. O'Neill, a famous physicist. What do you mean by physicist? Yes, from Princeton University, has said that in the future, we will have satellites in space to produce solar energy. Then what did this doctor say? In the future, we will have satellites. What do you mean by satellites?
أقمار صناعية.
Yes. Then we will have satellites in space. Why? To produce solar energy. Solar means? What do you mean by solar? What do you mean by solar?
solar طاقة دكتور.
شمسي.
Shams, yes. Then solar energy. Then in the future, there will be satellites in space. Why are these satellites? What are these satellites used for? To produce solar energy and send it to the air. Then satellites in the space will produce solar energy and send it to the earth. It will be too expensive to continually send people and materials to the satellites. So biospheres will be necessary. Then it will be too costly or expensive to send or to continually send people and materials to the satellites. So هنا biospheres are very important because they will be necessary what? Not to send many people and materials to the satellites. He thinks, طبعا Dr. Gerard, he thinks that 10,000 people could live in a space colony sometimes in the future. Then he said that 10,000 people, or it is possible that 10,000 people could live in a space colony in the future, طبعا. Sometimes you don't know when. There is another interesting reason, and this is the first reason. And what's the first reason for building biospheres? It is used to help out when there is energy shortage. Second reason for building biospheres, we can use them to do all kinds of research about our own environment and how it works. Then the second reason for building biospheres, these biospheres can help us understand better. Okay. Building such biospheres can help us do all kinds of research. Research about our environment and how it works. By studying hemisphere, we can understand better. This is another reason. And by studying biosphere, we can understand better what will happen as humans destroy tropical forests. Then we can understand the result of destroying tropical forests. طبعا destroying tropical forests cause what? Cause more carbon dioxide. Okay. طبعا carbon dioxide شو بيعمل هذا؟ بيعمل polluting. ليش؟ To our atmosphere. Okay. And not only atmosphere, but what? This dioxide will pollute oceans and also the air. Okay. Then here we have three reasons for building biospheres. First one is to help us when we have energy shortage. The second one, we use these biospheres to do all kinds of research about our environment and how it works. And also, we can understand the third reason better what will happen as a human destroy tropical forests. By destroying tropical forests, they create more carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide will what? Will pollute the water and air. Okay. Shahad? شهد. Next paragraph.
يلا دكتور.
Hmm.
So far, only a few experimental biospheres have been built on Earth. One is in Engl, Arizona, near the University of Arizona. In 1991, 4 men and 4 women tried to live inside the biosphere without getting anything from outside. During the experiment, things got out of balance. Oxygen and carbon dioxide level fell, and the crew had to get help and supplies from outside. In space, people living in a biosphere would not be able to do this.
Thank you.
Learning.
Thank you.
Learning.
Thank you. Thank you. So far, يعني until now, only a few experimental biospheres have been built on Earth. Even few number of experimental biospheres have been built on Earth. طبعا one went in Oracle, Arizona, near the University of Arizona. Then this is what one of the biospheres which were built. In 1991, 4 men and 4 women tried to live inside the biosphere without getting anything from outside. Then in 1991, 4 men, 4 women tried to live in such biospheres without getting anything from outside. Okay, what happened to them? During the experiment, things got out of balance. Even during this experiment, things got out of balance. Things were not controlled. What are these things? Oxygen and carbon dioxide levels fell. Even the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide inside the biosphere fell. And the crew had to get help and supplies from outside. Then they couldn't live inside this biosphere because what we call things got out of balance. Sure, what are these things? Low oxygen and carbon dioxide. In space, people living in biosphere would not be able to do this. Then the people who live in biospheres would not be able to do this, to get supplies from outside. Okay. The next paragraph. Mariam.
Learning how a biosphere works and one of the most important things we can do. The information we get from biosphere may keep us from destroying our own environment. This information will also help us to travel where once only science fiction could go.
Thank you. Even learning how a biosphere works is one of the most important things we can do. Even the most important thing is what? To know how biospheres work. The information we get from biospheres may keep us from destroying our own environment. Even information we had about biospheres keep us from destroying our environment. This information will also help us to travel where once only science fiction could go. But this information about biospheres will help us to travel once only science fiction could go. Okay. Any question about this text? Any question? Okay. Now let's do the vocabulary exercise number 1. Now let's look at these words. What do you mean by colony here?
مستعمرة.
Yes. Solar.
شمسي.
Yes. One colony, what part of speech is it?
Noun.
Noun. Solar.
Adjective.
Adjective. Physicist.
Noun.
فيزيائي.
Yes. Planet.
كوكب. Noun.
Noun. Yes. Satellite.
Noun.
أقمار صناعية.
Yes. Bacteria.
Noun.
برضو noun. Project.
مشروع.
مشروع.
Yes. Noun. Complex.
Adjective. معقد.
Yes. Consider.
Verb.
Verb.
يعتبر.
Yes. Science fiction.
Noun.
خيال
خيال
علمي.
علمي.
Yes. Noun. Balance.
Verb. توازن يتوازن.
أنا هون في عندنا نقدر نستخدم to balance أو balance. A balance. يعني we can use it as a verb and a noun. Okay. Carbon dioxide.
Noun.
Noun, yes. Okay. Now let's start with number 1. Mariam?
The Earth is a planet. It is part of the solar system.
هنا في عندنا a. طبعا after a we use قلنا noun. So we say the Earth is a planet. It is part of the. One system is what? What is system here? Noun. And what should we use before system? Adjective.
Adjective.
Then we go, it's part of the solar system. Next. ضحى.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
Bacteria can cause disease. They also destroy waste.
إذا البكتيريا يعني البكتيريا عبارة عن noun a subject here. Bacteria can cause disease. They also destroy wastes. Next. Rahaf Ahmed.
Doctor, 3 ants live together in a colony.
Ants live together in colony. Colony. It should be followed by a noun. A colony, yes. Next. Lujain.
Julia likes to read science fiction.
Then Julia likes to read science fiction. Yes, next. Asma. Asma. Rana. Rana.
It's a difficult to balance a book on your hand while you are working.
It is difficult to
Planet.
planet.
الموازنة
verb.
التوازن هاي.
It is difficult to. What's the verb here? Hi, Rana. What's the verb you use here? It is difficult to what?
A noun.
To. After to. What do you use after to? Huh? What do you use after to? يا ضحى. What do you use after to?
Noun, balance.
After to.
Verb. To balance.
Verb.
إذا هنا في عندنا to إيش؟ To what?
Balance.
Balance. طبعا هنا verb balance. To balance, yes. To balance. Next. Mariam? Yes, Mariam?
The government biggest project is to build a dam to store water for agriculture.
Yes, أنا طبعا biggest one adjective followed by a noun. So we say the government's biggest project is to build a dam. Next. Batul? Batul? بتول سمعتني؟ بتول. طيب رهف أحمد؟ رهف؟
معك دكتور. Another word for completed is
complicated.
completed.
Complex, yes, complex. Next. ضحى. ضحى.
Yes, doctor. We must consider the advantages and the disadvantage before we start the project.
Then we must consider. After must, we should use the base form of the verb. Consider, yes. Okay, exercise B, vocabulary. And other vocabulary or words. يعني create, what do you mean by create here?
create إنشاء.
Yes,
الفيرب يصنع
the
يبتكر.
verb, yes. So far.
بعيد.
No, قلنا so far. ها؟ What do you mean by so far?
حتى الآن.
Until now. عبارة عن ايش؟ عن adverb so far, adverb. Okay. Balance. What do you mean by balance?
توازن.
تيجي verb وتيجي noun صح؟
Yes. إذا استخدمنا نقول to balance أو بقى a balance. To balance or a balance. طبعا to as a verb هنا و a as a noun. Yes. One satellite, we know satellite.
أقمار
Keep.
صناعية. نعم.
Yes, we keep. Keep is what here?
فيرب يحفظ.
Verb. Project ايش هنا؟
نعم.
Noun.
مشروع.
Bacteria برضو ايش؟
نعم.
Noun. Laboratory. Noun. Physicist.
نعم.
Noun.
نعم.
Carbon dioxide. Noun.
نعم.
Elements. What do you mean by,
noun.
what do you mean by elements?
عناصر. عناصر.
Yes. Noun. Consider.
Verb.
Verb. Yes. Number one. Mariam?
CO2 stands for carbon dioxide.
Then CO2 stands for carbon dioxide. Yes. Next. Eugene?
Gold AU, oxygen O, and uranium U are all elements.
Elements, yes, are all elements. Next. Isra?
نعم دكتور.
Yes.
Destroying rainforest can create problems for the world, for the whole world. Create هون جواب دكتور.
Yes, then destroying rainforest can create. يعني create means make here. Can make problems. Next. Anfal?
Scientists in a laboratory often wear white coats.
أنا في عندنا we use a noun here. Scientists in laboratory often wear white coats. Next. Batul?
Yes, doctor. There are no, so far there are no building over 120 stories high.
يعني so far, yes, so far.
Yes.
Yes. Next. Asma?
A physics teacher or does research in physics.
Then a physicist teacher.
Physicist.
Physicist. Next. Mariam?
Before the large increase in population, there was a balance between the needs of the people and what the land could produce.
يعني في عندنا a balance or noun balance. Okay. There was a balance. Next. Yes. Lujane?
Much international communication is now done by satellite.
By satellites, yes. By satellite. Next. Amne?
Designing a space only would be a difficult project.
Project, yes. Next. Doha? Doha?
They locked the door to keep people from coming in.
Yes, to keep. Next. Rana?
I consider you to be a good friend.
I consider you to be a good friend.
Friend.
Consider you. Yes. Any question about this exercise? Any question? Okay. Exercise C, vocabulary review. Diet, what do you mean by diet here?
نظام غذائي noun.
Yes. A noun. Takes off.
verb يقلع أو يأخذ.
Yes. It's a verb. Straighten. What's straighten?
Verb to make straight something straight. Something straight.
To make something straight, yes. Straighten is a verb. To make something straight. Tools.
noun معدات.
Yes, noun. Dispose of.
Verb.
Verb. It means
to get rid of something.
To get rid of something, yes. Position.
noun.
Noun. Clockwise.
في اتجاه عقارب الساعة.
مظبوط. What part of speech is it here? Noun or verb or adjective?
Verb.
It is a verb. Is it a verb?
Adjective.
Adverb.
Adjective.
Clockwise. Harmful. What's harmful?
Adverb.
Harmful.
Harmful. Adjective. مؤذي.
Adjective, yes. Permission.
Noun.
What do you mean by permission?
Noun. سماح.
Yes. Story.
Noun.
No. Phobia. What do you mean by phobia?
الخوف من شيء. phobia. Noun.
Yes. Noun. Remain.
Verb للتذكير. To remain.
Yes. To remain. To stay. Yes.
Yes.
Number one. Number one. Isra.
Oh, Doctor.
Yes.
You should turn the door knob clockwise in order to open the door.
Then you should turn, or you need to turn the door knob clockwise in order to open the door. Yes. Next. Mariam?
You should turn off your cell phone before the plane takes off.
You should turn off your cell phone before the plane takes off. Takes off, مش takes. يعني before it leaves. Okay. Next. ضحى.
It's not healthy to live on a diet of junk food.
Yes, on a diet. طبعا في عندنا we use noun here. Diet. Next. Rahaf, Ahmed.
If they straighten the road, people will drive a lot faster.
إذا if they straighten, yes, straighten. يعني make it إيش؟ Make it straight. Straighten is a verb. Yeah. Next. Eugene.
Smoking is harmful to your health.
Then smoking is harmful to your what? Health. Next. Rahaf. Ahmed. Rahaf. Mariam?
His office is on the 26th floor of a 40-story building.
Story building, yes. Next. Batul?
Yes, doctor. What tools do you need to build a house?
What?
Tools.
Tools. Not
Tools.
tools, tools.
Yes.
What tools do you need to build a house? Okay. Next. Amna?
You need to get a special permission to go inside the library.
You need to
The
get.
library.
You need to get special what?
Permission.
Position?
Permission.
Permission. Permission.
Permission. Yes.
Permission. Yes. Permission.
Sorry.
Permission يعني قلنا ايش؟
سماح أو
سماح.
إذن.
Yes, إذن yeah. Next. Next. Rahaf?
10 only 3 people remained and the theater to
Number 9 yeah.
how old people in space only high
Colony.
colony there
What should we use here? أنا
Plus
فين أقول؟ ها؟ We should use a verb here. Yes, Batul. Number 9. Number 9.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, Batul.
How old people in space colony dispose of their
Yes, dispose
garbage?
of their garbage. Yes. Next. Mariam.
Only 3 people remained in the theater to see the whole movie. Everyone else left early.
Then only 3 people remained in the theater to see the whole movie. Okay. Now multiple choice questions. Number 1. Anfal?
Fiction is be imaginative.
Then fiction is imaginative, يعني not real. Okay, imaginative. Next, Doha.
Biosphere are complicated project because everything must be perfectly balanced.
Then biospheres are complicated projects because everything must be perfectly balanced. Yes. Next. Isra.
نعم دكتور.
Number 3.
وصلنا عند الثالثة صح؟ تمام. The experimental زي هيك صح دكتور ولا كيف تنقرأ؟
Experimental, yes, experimental.
Experimental biosphere in Arizona جوابها had serious problems.
Had serious problems, yes. Next. Anfal.
Biospheres in space could support 10,000 people.
Could support 10,000 people, yes. Next. Lujain.
A greenhouse is a biosphere.
Greenhouse is Biosphere. Yes, greenhouse. Yes, is a biosphere. Next, Mariam.
Bacteria might take care of the waste in biosphere.
Then bacteria might take care of the waste in a biosphere. Next, Rana.
Dr. Niels thinks that satellites can protect solar energy.
Dr. O'Neill thinks that satellite can produce solar energy. Yes. Okay. Now, comprehension questions. Comprehension questions. Now, why is it complex project to create a biosphere? Why is it a complex project to create biosphere? Lujain?
To be successful, a biosphere has to have a perfect balance among
Balance.
everything within it.
Then it should have
A perfect balance among
should have a perfect balance between
everything within it.
Yes, everything within it. Okay. Then it should have a complete balance among everything between the things in it. Okay. Next, how is a greenhouse different from biosphere? Mariam? How is greenhouse different from a biosphere?
A greenhouse is a closed environment except for the sun heat entering through the glass of the or plastic.
طيب بالنسبة للجرين طيب البايوسفير how is different from the greenhouse? Isra, what's the difference here? What's the difference between a greenhouse and a biosphere?
صراحة مش عارفة دكتور.
Yes. How is greenhouse different from a biosphere? Anybody knows?
Greenhouses are only for plants.
Yes.
While biospheres, human beings can live in them.
Yes. A greenhouse is used for growing plants in winter. بينما البايوسفير is used to what? For what? For living in it. إذن the greenhouse is used for growing plants in winter. When a biosphere is used for what? For living, for people to live in these biospheres. Now explain why the Earth is a biosphere. Why is Earth a biosphere? Duha?
Yes, Doctor.
Why is Earth a biosphere?
It is enclosed and complete. Nothing important enter but sunlight, and nothing leaves except some heat.
Yes, إذن نقول هنا إيش؟ Nothing important enters except sunlight, and nothing leaves إيش as waste except some heat. Okay. But then everything need to be in balance. What on Earth? Now, how does Dr. O'Neill think that we will solve the energy shortage? How does Dr. O'Neill think that we will solve the energy shortage? How? Lujain?
He said that in the future we will have a satellites in space to produce solar energy and send it to the Earth.
Even by having satellites in space, which produces solar energy and send it to the Earth, yes. Why can we learn about our environment from a biosphere? Why can we learn about our environment from a biosphere? Rahaf?
The environment we get from biosphere makeup is from this around our own environment.
Then why can we learn about our environment from our biosphere? Why?
أرجع أعيد الجواب اللي حكيته لها.
Yes.
The information we get from biosphere may keep us from destroying our own environment.
Yes. Then the information we get from biospheres may keep us from destroying our environment. Now, what happened when people moved into the Arizona biosphere? Mariam?
Things get out of balance. Oxygen and carbon dioxide levels fell, and the crew had to get help and supplies from outside.
Even things got out of balance. Oxygen and carbon dioxide levels fell, and they had to get supplies from outside. Would you like to live in a biosphere on Mars? Would you like to live on a biosphere on Mars? Are they personal question?
هون دكتور بنقدر نجاوب مثلا no because مثلا إنه بتوقع ممكن تنخفض مستويات الأكسجين فجأة ممكن مثلا
يعني you don't like to live. Yes, you don't like to live in a biosphere, maybe because the oxygen may be, or you may run out of oxygen suddenly, okay? So this causes problems. Okay. Now, what's the main idea of paragraph 4? Look at line 30, 35. What's the main idea of this paragraph? Duha?
The Earth itself is the best example of real biosphere.
مظبوط. Then the Earth itself is the best example of a real biosphere. What is the main idea of paragraph 5? Yes, Asma?
Reason for building biosphere.
There are what?
Reason for building biosphere.
Yes. There are reasons or several reasons for building biospheres. What's the main idea of paragraph 6? Mariam?
The fallen experimental biosphere.
What?
The fallen experimental biosphere.
So we can say few experimental biospheres have been built on Earth. A few experimental biospheres. Okay. Any question about this passage so far? Do you have any question? Do you have any question? Okay, so we stop here and see you next week.